Welcome to the Backyard Professor Responds videos. I have a rather interesting subject. It's probably not going to be my most popular video on UAPs and UFOs tonight, but it's a necessary subject to at least, hopefully, it will help some people gain a broader context. Hopefully, it will give some people understanding of what is being asked of we YouTube producers, as well as the whistleblowers and eyewitnesses to some of the truly bizarre and weird things that are happening with this amazing subject. The greatest thing that has ever happened to humanity, and we're in it. So on election day, the Good Trouble show, what a fabulous show, interviewed, of all people, the veteran investigative UFO journalist, George Knapp. And it was tremendous. I'll leave a link for you in the description here. I don't have a lot of time tonight to give a full commentary. I'll just let you watch the video. But I wish to share at least this one idea because it doesn't hurt to every now and then revisit this enormous flack that everyone gets from skeptics, from people who just don't believe, from people who demand proof. Now, George Knapp has been at this for 50 years, and he's got data. He's got a lot of material. But here's the problem, and I want to share his insight and his idea. So let me share the screen. And I've got a real nice clip of him right here. Let me make sure it's showing. Yes, it is. You don't want to see me in here. Let me get the full screen. There we go. Okay, here we are. Let's listen to this bit of wisdom.
I can't imagine what it's like for these whistleblowers, Matt. You know, you read X and UFO Twitter and other social media platforms, these UFO people and loudmouths whining and moaning, saying, I'm not going to pay attention to any of this anymore. I don't want to hear about any witnesses or documents or programs or Arrow. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I want the bodies and the flying saucers. And until I get them, I'm going to sit in the corner and hold my breath. And I'm not going to eat lunch anymore. You show them to me right now, because gosh, I've been here on Twitter for 3-4 months and nothing has come up. There's been no solid proof. Why won't you deliver it to my front door? Whiny little brats who don't realize the amount of progress that has been made over the past 5 or 6 years compared to the 50 years preceding it. It's been an amazing time. It's been an absolutely astonishing amount of progress. And for whistleblowers, the challenges of coming forward to say what they know. There is a group of them that have worked hands-on on these craft, in these reverse engineering programs. They have seen the stuff. They have talked to David Grush. They have made themselves available and put themselves out on the line. And now people are demanding, we want you to come forward and talk to Congress. There's no way you can ever be prosecuted. The government wouldn't dare try to put you in prison. Give up your career and your job, put your lives at risk. Go ahead and spill your beans, because I'm here on UFO Twitter and I want to know. And it's preposterous.
Yeah, and you know, only a veteran, a very well-respected and superb investigating veteran of UFOs and UAPs can say this with context, because no one has been more hassled or respected across the spectrum. He covers it all. He's done some marvelous work, and yet there are still people demanding as if we have that right. But let's keep watching about the whistleblower thing too, because I think, yeah, it's been a while, but we're getting a little bit too demanding and saucy. Now, that's not to say that we do not want full disclosure, and that's not to say quit pushing for it, because I'm calling for a lot more people involving themselves in it. But if you want, I mean, we're not relying on the government to tell us they're real. They're real. We don't need the government to come along and say, hey, everybody, guess what? They're real. You know, if Donald Trump happens to be the disclosure president, which I seriously don't think he will be, he doesn't want to touch the UAP subject with the 10-foot pole, I don't think. It'd be interesting if I was wrong. But you think him telling you, guess what? UAPs are real. Are you really going to just believe it? Because he says, believe me, I know a lot. I know a lot of it. In fact, I'm probably the world's smartest man in this subject, and you better believe me, they're real. You got to be pulling my leg. You're going to believe that? So I think George Knapp has a superb point, but let's get a little deeper with this. Very important for extra context here. Something I didn't even actually quite realize until the way he put it here. Very interesting how he says this.
It is outrageous. There are people who have made themselves available to Congress, but they know the risks. Look what happened to Grush. He was really careful and operating very carefully in what he made public. You know, it was part of his job to find these people. He was assigned that by the UAP task force. He had the clearances to do the work. They had clearances to do the work. He found them, got that information, released what he could, and still got excoriated, ripped up by media critics, break-ins at his home, the release, the slime job that was done, trying to destroy his credibility by releasing very personal and painful medical records. It's pretty disgusting. Now, you're a whistleblower who has worked on one of these programs, and I've talked to them. I've been in contact with them. I know what they're going through. Their clearances, they leave the military, they go to work for an intelligence agency or a defense contractor. They need a clearance to support their families. They're told, give up your job, put yourself at risk, because I, UFO person, demand to know what you know.
I think he's got a damn good point. I really do. You know, why don't you guys put yourselves on the line instead of sitting back whining, whoever you are? And you know who you are. Believe me, we know there's a lot of you, we YouTube content creators, because we get you in the content, in the comments. And I mean, every UAP YouTube program that I have watched, and I've watched dozens and dozens of different channels and many, many of their videos. And every time the comments are about half and half of people really griping hard against the people really working hard to try to grasp this subject. Instead of griping, we don't know the solutions yet. Why don't you keep helping us? Well, I put 20 years into it. George Knapp has put 50. I mean, you know, it's hard to have empathy. We're trying. We don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to make you mad and go off half-cocked. No, them UFO morons, they don't know what they're talking about. I'll tell you what. 99% of the complainers I've seen, I will take what George Knapp says any day over anything you found. He has been moving the progress forward. Sure, it's increment by increment, but it's the small things that add up that bring us the success. For instance, you start. Oh man, I'm trying to think of my example. Sorry, I just went blank. Boy, that'll be a good one. The UFO zapped my brain. You start with an egg and you put it in water that is 5 degrees under the boiling temperature. No, 5 degrees above the freezing temperature. Water, not the egg. That's a different example. You take water and you start it at 36 degrees and you drop it 1 degree of temperature. Nothing happens. Oh, you start it at 100 degrees and drop it 1 temperature at a time. Nothing happens. 33, 34, nothing happens. 33 degrees, nothing happens. 32 degrees, and all of a sudden, it freezes. All of that work beforehand that took so much time before you got results was not a waste. It had to occur for us to get the success. I would propose this UFO subject is the same way. We have been accumulating small bits of information now for decades, and it's becoming really impressive. And the other amazing thing is we do recognize the patterns. One of the very finest out there, Richard Dolan, has been sharing some of those patterns of UFO activity and now USO activity from the water. Crafts coming up from the water and crafts hovering over the water and then going down into the ocean. He's got a book that's coming out pretty quick, unless he's already got it out, where he has over 600 cases. So the activity has greatly increased. Today is not the same as it was yesterday, or even last week, or last month, or last year, or last decade, or last century. I entirely side with George Knapp. We've made fantastic progress, but we're not at the 32-degree freezing mark where we see the conclusion with the real evidence. But you've got to take it 1 degree at a time to get there. And if you guys quit, you get so disgusted that you quit at 34 degrees, you'll never know the truth. Just as an analogy, I'm just trying to help you understand that we have a 50-year veteran, and this is what it looks like from this end. One more small item, and then I'll quit. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, neither is George Knapp, but the realism has disappeared with the expectation. That's what we're talking about.
And, you know, it's pretty scary for them. I know that there are some of them that want to come forward, but they risk everything if they do it. And if you don't think that whistleblowers are prosecuted, and you don't know the names Bill Binney or Thomas Drake or Gary McKinnon, that kid in the UK who broke into some NASA computers and says he saw evidence of this secret space program and information about UFOs, did they go after him? U.S. Department of Justice spent 10 years trying to extradite that guy so they could send him to prison in the U.S. because he broke into those computers. Bill Binney and Thomas Drake, they had released information that the public had absolutely every right to know about these mass surveillance programs. What happened to them? They were imprisoned. They were prosecuted. The Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, retroactively classified information that they had made public. It wasn't classified when they released it. They retroactively made it public, made it classified, and sent those guys away. It destroyed their lives. You don't think they'd do the same to these whistleblowers? Of course they would.
Yeah. It's and the people that complain about it, they literally, especially these junk journalists that write these hit pieces. I think you were referring to the Ken Klippenstein piece. These folks, they have no idea how the real world works.
And this is really important because those who have been in this a lot longer than I have a much broader, deeper understanding of the total issues involved. And even I, in my rather small-minded understanding at this point, I'm working very hard to learn everything I can right now so that I can share with you guys too. It never hurts to get another perspective. It never hurts to get another angle. Hearing a story for the 19th time from the 19th different person who might yet have, oh, hey, did you ever wonder about this point of view? That might be a key that unlocks everything. Because every avalanche starts with one snowflake, but it doesn't happen with just two of them. It's an accumulated thing. I think it helps us be a little more patient, we hope, with these analogies. So I'm going to stop it there. I've gone long enough. I just wanted to do a quick BYP response. I will leave a link to this it's about an hour and a half, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Okay, hold on. Let me do one more small part here. He's talking.
They have no appreciation for not only the risk to their physical safety, but jeopardizing their retirement, jeopardizing going to jail, jeopardizing the livelihood or being able to put food on the table for their families. People just don't get it. And touching on the surveillance thing you were talking about.
Yeah, and them being surveillanced gets real sticky and dangerous too. But we all get the idea. Well, we deserve to have full disclosure, and so you have to come forward. No, they don't. They really don't. So we're fortunate to have those who have come forward. But in my opinion, we need to be a little bit more appreciative of the amazing information, the patterns that we are beginning to find that we didn't have just a year ago. I mean, Richard Dolan has found some very interesting information since the Tic Tac revelations occurred on the U.S. Air Force and them being over the water. Richard Dolan is coming out with a whole brand new approach. He's calling it USOs, of unidentified, I can't remember what the S stands for, but it's those craft that deal with the water. So here's yet another window of opportunity to learn, to expand our knowledge and grasp the significance of this. Now, Mishlove has been interviewing people, and such as Chris Bledsoe and others, and he is sharing the consciousness angle of this. And they do talk about that, not from Mishlove's point of view, but from Bigelow's point of view, on this idea of consciousness may be a main key to comprehending not only ourselves, but the invaders from space, those who don't believe that's where they're from. Okay, those who were here on Earth, because there are comments of people who've worked on UAPs from years and decades past that say they found no engines in the craft. There's no motors. There's no wings. We can't comprehend how these Tic Tacs are working. One suggestion is that they're flying them with their consciousness. And I get it. That is so frickin' far out left field that now you've entered loony world. I got news for you. Reality is loony. Nuclear threat to destroy the planet, that is far loonier than UFOs flying these craft using consciousness, their own mind. There are studies developing on this that I think, just like Gary Nolan says when he criticized Neil deGrasse Tyson for being a paid debunker, a cheap shot artist, he said, what's wrong with discussing really interesting and cool ideas. I like that idea. I like spending my time. It's a life well spent to discover ideas, to analyze them, to pull them apart, to put them together with other ideas instead of saying, oh, nah, that's not real science. That's stupid. That doesn't lead to dialogue and discovering new knowledge. That leads to entrenchment and narrow-mindedness like current science is experiencing. And I'm not anti-science, but Sabine Hofstetter has a brand new video out that you guys ought to start checking into as well. She is once again showing the problems with the current use, misuse, or rather non-use of science for these guys to go chasing off into really wild, idiotic, ridiculous theories, and they're doing them all wrong because they get the big bucks. The money has destroyed our creativity in our minds. Man, we can't let that happen. So that's why I wanted to share this from truly one of the greats, George Knapp. Thank you, good sir, for all of your contribution. If someone who knows George Knapp hears my video, please do let him know that I'm very thankful to him. I don't have access to him. I don't know him. I'm somewhat new to this scene. I would love to get to know that man. I would love to get him on my show. So if any of you know him, please drop him a line and say, hey, this Backyard Professor guy, he did a really nice video with you and the Good Trouble show, and he's very grateful. I would personally appreciate that. In the meantime, hit the like and subscribe and share this with everybody you can. And now I really am going to close it down. I was only going to go 15 minutes, but this subject is a difficult subject to broach because, it can lead to stepping on people's toes and all that. And part of our response is, well, grow up and get over it. Why don't you try to be an adult here and pitch in and help us discover this? And another part of us really does say, it's been 80 years. But do you know how long it was before we discovered black holes? Something that directly came theoretically out of Einstein's mathematics and physics of theory of relativity and special relativity. Do you know how long it took before we actually found gravity waves when we discovered two black holes colliding and we then saw gravity waves? Almost 100 years for the gravity waves. But because we had kept plugging away on the math, because we kept reanalyzing relativity, because we kept studying the quantum physics, bam, it showed up. Because we actually knew better through that 100 years of patience and hard work and analysis, we knew what to look for. And we suspected we knew what it would look like. And there it was. So heads up to those of you who are kind of starting to wane in your hope, or, you're feeling like it's never going to happen. Just like Knapp said, the journey, what we are learning about our universe is so magnificent. The journey, what we are learning about ourselves. We are now, as a group of humans, studying consciousness, our own brains, our own mind, vastly more intricately than we ever have before, because this is one of the postulates of potential breakthrough of understanding the UAPs. We are benefiting as a pure bonus of comprehending our own selves so much better. Now, that's worth the journey. That's worth the effort. No, we don't know it all, but we never will. But that doesn't mean it's not worth undertaking. And so many of us will continue producing videos, analysis, and ideas. Thank you for watching the BYP Response videos. I've got a lot more coming out. I appreciate all of you. You guys have a good day, and I will be back just as soon as I can with more information. Appreciate all of you.